all these people who hear all those stories about, take out large loans and just go for it, it's a lie. They should never do that.
A lot of people in our audience, and I'll meet entrepreneurs out, they have this idea that even when they start getting their business out there and maybe have some modicum of success, that they should be able to do it full time. And for you, when LL Cool J and some famous artists started to wear your clothes, you were still full time at Red Lobster.
I was full time, because we've seen too many movies where it says, go balls to the wall, burn every bridge. Oh, by the way, other people's money, it's wreckable. That's bullshit, right?
Totally.
The bottom line is don't quit your day job, all right? Because here's what was happening. As a waiter at Red Lobster, maybe I made $30,000 or $40,000, right? But if I did that, which I did for 5 years, and I would work my 60 hours at Red Lobster, then I'd put in another maybe 15 or 20 hours working on FUBU. But if I had to pay myself for those 5 years, that would have been $200,000. Now I'm $200,000. I had $200,000. I had medical. I was eating as many shrimp as I would like. I was using my network at Red Lobster to get things out of there. I was learning from the Red Lobster network of their corporation, their books on how they do business, and I was able to do my business longer and go through the pitfalls of it. And the business started to call me. I started to now work 20% on the business, 80% on Red Lobster. Then all of a sudden, 80% on the business and 20% there. But, all these people who hear all those stories about, take out large loans and just go for it, it's a lie. They should never do that.
I didn't do that. I always tell people when I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm real happy I did it. When I started my coaching business at 23, which was nuts, but I bartended and waited tables and taught fitness and taught all kinds of things for 7 years before I had the confidence and the revenue to be able to say, okay, now I'm going to shift and go full-time online. And it's been almost 20 years, but so many people, they want these instant results. And it's like, it's not the way to do it.
They don't realize, listen, every overnight success has taken 15 years, and that's just the way it goes. And they've just watched too many people. You know who tells them all this? The people that are trying to take their money.
Yes.
The people that are trying to take your money work twice as hard. So they go, take this magic pill, you're going to lose weight. I'm going to educate you, and just come to my seminar and buy a $100,000 pack. Those are the people that are full of crap, and other people out there who don't want to put in the work. Unfortunately, nobody's going to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also read that there was a time when 27 banks rejected you.
Yeah.
And your mom and her advice won the day.
Yeah. So the 27 banks rejected me, and they did it for a good reason, because I didn't have any financial intelligence, and I didn't know what I was doing to fill out the right application and express what I was going to do the right way. Plus, I had no collateral. My mother and I, we had always had a house that we had kept contributing to. I was, contributing. She was as well. And I had $300,000 in orders. That's the important part. It wasn't good old mom would just mortgage the house. I had $300,000 in orders, and she said, if you have $300,000 in orders, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take as much money we can out of the house. You're going to go make and sell the clothes and deliver the clothes and put the money back in the house. So she took all the money we can. And this is it's really a tribute to women and my mother. She went out and got a $100,000 loan on my house. The house was worth $75,000. I still haven't asked her what she did for the rest of the money. And Mom had my back, and I don't want to hear it. What she did for the rest of the money. I'm sure it was all above board. And that's what we did. And we turned the house into a factory. Mom moved out. My friends moved in. We created like an Airbnb for my friends, right? We all contributed $50. We all had a room in the house, $50 a week for the rent. And we would work, and we then took all the furniture we could in the house that we couldn't sell. We sold what we could. Whatever we couldn't sell, we burned in the backyard. And we brought in a bunch of industrial sewing machines and hired a bunch of seamstresses, because I didn't know what Alibaba was. I didn't want to trust my money with people overseas or even domestically that I didn't know. I wanted to be in control of making this product. So I turned my house into a factory. And for 2 years, we would operate this factory.
That's amazing. Do you look back at those times as like, man, the good old days?
Yes and no. I look back at those times and say, how stupid was I, right? Because I didn't have financial intelligence. Yeah. And I think that is something we should be teaching kids in the 3rd grade, not when they get to college. right?
I
And
agree 100%. I
yeah,
mean, we don't talk about money enough as a
we
culture.
don't talk about money at all. We don't give this education to kids, and then they go and they're able to get up to $300,000 in school loans on 75% of education they'll never use
Yes.
at 16 or 17 years old. When we can be teaching them something different in how financially to do this, because then they're going to be in debt until they're 35 years old, right? And I was a kid who didn't have any financial intelligence, and I did almost lose it all. So the story that I'm sharing with you now, I want to make sure that people don't go out and start mortgaging their homes. I mean, if you have financial intelligence and you know your downside and you know you have orders, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I look back at those as the good old days, but I also look back at those days and say, how did I survive? Why am I here today? Why am I here? Because so many people have gone through just as much or worse. And what has God given me to be here today with you?
Well, part of it is your heart. I mean, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a
Oh,
fan of Shark Tank, and I love your book. And anytime that you and I have interacted, it's just been
had a
nothing
good
but
time.
joy.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. It's transitioning now to Shark Tank. So when it launched, like 2008, 2009,
yeah.
had you been very experienced as an investor? Like, what was that process like for you to say yes? Because that was a whole new world to step
Yeah,
into.
so it was a little bit about being naive, but it was a little bit about always knowing that the cheese is going to move and you need to go in a new area. So when we were approached about the show, I actually declined it because they said I was going to use my own money, and I said I'm supposed to get paid to be on TV. Why?
Right.
Why the hell would I do that? But a lot of people started feeling the pinch in '08. When you're selling clothing, I started feeling it in '06 because when somebody can't pay their mortgage, the last thing they're doing is buying another T-shirt because they can wear the same one. So I started to feel it, and I had 10 clothing companies, 8 of them were dead, and all I was getting pitched, in my business were other clothing companies. So I said, I want to go on the show because I'm going to be able to maximize my real estate in the retailers and have apparel, lotions, bedding, electronics. Let me go on the show. So I go on the show, and for the first 3 years, year one I lost 750, year two I lost 500,000, and year three we started to make the money back because year one I just thought throwing money at it could solve the problem. Well, you need support systems, and no matter how well I know how to make a pair of pants or a shirt, it doesn't mean that I know how to make a dress, deliver flowers. And so I needed to hire staffs around it. So it was a learning curve for all the sharks just as well.
Yeah. So I think that was one of the most important lessons. It's something I've learned and I continue to relearn.
Yeah.
When you're first starting out, and it is the power of broke, you don't have resources, right?
Yeah.
You don't have money, you don't have connections. And so that creativity is forced up.
Sure.
But then once you start to make it, and then you have a little bit of cushion, and we even made this mistake in our business where it's like I did this a few times, and I look back and I'm like, okay, that was dumb, but I learned my lesson. You start paying out thinking that money can solve a problem, and it can't. And it comes back to always keeping this mentality of staying scrappy.
It does, because if I would have, let's say the first investment I would have had, which was 250, and they would said I need 250, instead of giving them 250, if I didn't have it, I found out that the 250, and this is just an example, but I found out the 250 was they built a $50,000 website instead of a $1,000 Facebook page, right? They bought $50,000 worth of inventory. They only had $10,000 worth of orders instead of taking pre-orders, making it right, and then using the pre-order money. They went and sell to stores instead of online because online was starting to do better. When you have a 120% margin online, but you only have a 50% margin in stores. So I didn't know that, and I'm sitting there just giving, all right, here's your 250.
Yeah.
Instead of asking a question.
Yeah.
When you are activating the power broke, you ask questions. When you are not activating the power broke, you just give the money. How much you need? Here you go. Here you go. And it just doesn't work. Not to me.
No, it hasn't worked for me either. And I keep going back to those scrappy roots because it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like in our team and in our culture, it also just keeps us humble, and it keeps us focused on the right things.
Yeah.
How do we get the most out of the least amount of investment of money and do something that's new and innovative and always question those kind of
And
big
it, and
bills
it
that come in.
also points out the people on your team that rise to the top, the
Yes.
ones who are not thinking outside the box, and it points out the weak ones who you can make stronger,
Yep.
and it points out the strong ones who you can have help you in different other ways. So it shows creativity. Thanks for watching. I wish you love and power in your life. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Check you later.